Yesterday we worked on problems that did not have a leading coefficient with completing the square. Today we're going to work on problems that have a leading coefficient. So, any ideas of what we have to do with that leading coefficient? Do you think we're going to keep it or get rid of it? We're going to get rid of it, okay? So, whatever your leading coefficient is, that's what you're going to end up dividing everything by, okay? So, our leading coefficient on number 19 is what? 5. So, we're going to divide the whole thing. Remember, you have to divide both sides by 5. Now, I know the other side's 0, but if it wasn't, you would still have to divide that other side by 5. So, we're going to divide each side by 5. So, if I do that, I'm going to be left with n squared plus 2n minus 75, not 75, minus 15 equals 0. Now is in a form we can do completing the square process. Yep, what do we want to do first when completing the square? Yep, we want to get rid of 15. So add 15 to both sides. So I have n squared plus 2n. On this step, what do I want to make sure I do? Leave blank spots. So we have plus equals 15. What else do I need? Yep. What you do to one side, you have to do the other. So we need blanks on both sides. Okay? Now, how do we find our new C value here? Yep. Take your B, which is 2, and we're going to take that 2 divided by 2, which is 1. And then what do I have to do with that? Squared, but it's just 1. So we add 1 to both sides. Now we rewrite as a square. How do I rewrite this? Yep. Yep. Where did you get that 1 from? Where does this come from? Yep, it comes from this number right here. Okay, now it's just solving. How do I solve this? Yep, take the square root of both sides. So what do I have left on the left side? N plus 1. And then what do I have on the right side? What do I need with that for? Right, why do we have to have that positive negative? Why is it important? Because we have to have two solutions. Okay, so we need that positive negative 4. And then what's my last step that I need to do in order to get my solutions? Treat them as their own. So 1, I'm going to have n plus 1 equals positive 4. And what's my other one going to be? N plus 1 equals negative 4. And then last step with both of those is subtract by 1. So we get n equals 3 and n equals negative 5. So the only new part we added from yesterday was this beginning part where we had to get rid of that leading coefficient in order to complete the square. Okay, bless you. Let's look at number 20. I'm not going to do it, but what are you going to divide by? 10. Yep, you're always going to divide by that leading coefficient. Okay, what are you going to divide by on 21? 7. What about number 22? What are you going to divide by? You're going to divide by 10, but is it going to turn out nicely? No, so let's go through it. We divide by 10. So I have p squared minus 2p. What do we think that 64 turns into? What's 64 divided by 10? 6.4. Yep. Equals 0. Remember, sometimes with radical problems or quadratic problems, you're going to be working with decimals because they don't all come out so evenly. Okay. Same process. What do we need to do first? Add 6.4 to both sides. Get rid of it. So we have p squared minus 2p. What do I have to add? Blank. And then 6.4. Add a blank. So now completing the square. What is my b term? Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1 squared. We get positive 1. So now be careful when you rewrite, because what do we write? What's in the parentheses? P minus 1. Remember, we take this number that we got from our dividing our b by 2. We take that number, and then we always have to do what with those parentheses? Square it. And then what do we have on the other side? 7.4. Yep. So what goes in these blanks is when you square that new c term that you had. Okay. Now it's solving. How do we solve? How do we solve? Take the square root. So on the left we have p minus 1 equals, then type the square root of 7.4 in your calculator. What do you get? 2.72. What am I missing? What? There you go. Positive, negative. And then the last step, we do what? Treat them as their own. What's one of my equations I'm going to have?
P minus 1 equals 2.7.
Yep. And then what's the other one I'm going to have?
P minus 1 equals
Yep. And then solve both of those by adding 1. So what are my two solutions? Yep. Those are our two solutions. When you have a leading coefficient, what do you have to do before you can start completing the square? Divide by that leading coefficient to everything. Okay? Let's look at, you guys pick one out of those bottom four. 23. Okay? Where do you start? You want to get rid of the leading coefficient first? Okay. Divide by 5. So we have x squared minus 3. Don't forget to divide by 5 on the other side also. So we have that negative 2x. What do we need to do from here? Is it in the original quadratic form? As in, is it in ax squared plus bx plus c? No. So we need to get it in that form first. How do I get it there? What'd you say?
Something with the negative 2x.
Right. I need to get it to the other side. How do I move it to the other side? Add it over, right? Add 2x. So we have x squared plus 2x minus 3 equals 0. Now we can start completing the square. What do I have to get rid of? The 3 by doing what? Adding the 3 over. Then we have x squared plus 2x plus blank equals 3 plus blank. So if you have a starting point that isn't in the correct form, you have to get it to the correct form first before you start moving things around, okay, and completing the square. Questions about when they look like that? You're doing it though. If you keep doing this one, the answers you're supposed to get are x equals 1 and x equals negative 3. Let's look at number 25, and then I'll let you do some practice on your own. Number 25, what's wrong with this one? Or what do you see?
Can't really divide it by anything.
Right, not yet, because why?
Because you don't have anything on the leading coefficient.
Right, okay, we don't have anything to worry about with the leading coefficient, so that part's good. We don't have to divide by anything.
Could we add everything over?
Yep, we're going to add everything over, but do we really have to add everything over? Right, we just have to add over the 4m. Why do we not have to take the 24 over? Right, because we're going to have to move it back anyways. Okay, so I'm going to add that 4m over. So we have m squared minus 10m. What do I need after the 10m? A blank equals negative 24 plus blank.